Hi all, so I am here with my finishing video for my advent. So over the past just under a month, I have been releasing this chart. So this chart is now completely out. All of the different sections are out. So the chart that shows everything was yesterday's piece. I will also list that again. I will share that link down in the description box below. But I've really enjoyed stitching this, and I was thinking, what am I going to do for my very last Flossmass video? This is going to be the last video that is shared for Flossmass. As far as I'm aware, I haven't yet planned one for tomorrow, but I've got friends coming over. They should be here in about 2 hours, so I need to get this finished. I would like to have this up on display just because this piece has brought me so much joy this month. The community stitching along, the way this piece has come together, it is just bright, it is fun, it is beautiful. I've really enjoyed it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to be finishing mine, and I found in the works the other day, I found one of these Make and Create chalkboard signs for £1.50. My friend actually went in because my friend has stitched this as her first ever cross stitch pattern. I was so excited when she stitched this, and when she asked me how I was going to finish it, I said I'm not really sure, but I have picked up this board. So she went running into works yesterday, and this was actually in her works on sale. So I am going to do this as how I normally do my finishing videos. I'm just going to let the camera roll. There isn't going to be really any editing. It could be a long video. We're just going to see, you're going to see the ums and ahs of, do I want to finish it with this? What ribbon do I use? I am just going to keep this raw and natural because one, my editing time is limited, but two, I want to show you that finishing isn't as difficult as people think it is. And I have spoken to my friend who is fairly new into crafting. As I said, it was her first ever cross stitch piece. And I've spoken to her about the different pieces that she has, or things that we have bought together in the past. And I sent her a few little goodie pieces, but I'm going to use very minimal items just to show you the finishing of this. So the only thing I have pre-done is I have cut my piece of sticky board down to 13 centimeters by 14 centimeters. Now I've stitched mine on 18 count fibre on a whim by Stone in the colorway Stone. So what you want to do is you want to measure your piece. Now mine is going to be slightly bigger, but by less than ½ an inch. I don't want a huge border margin, but you may want a little bit bigger of a piece. So you're going to measure your piece and then add maybe ½ centimeter on each side. So add, if yours measured 12 across, add a centimeter and do 13. You just need to check your finishing piece. So I have checked, this will fit a 16 count, a 14 count, or if you do a 20 count, yours is obviously going to be smaller than mine, so it will definitely fit. 14 count will go pretty much to the edge, so you're not going to have much room to display on either side, but you could still, you've got all the space at the top for ribbon and extras. So I have also ironed my piece. I did that off camera. It was just a little bit easier to do. So what I'm going to start with doing is I have some batting here from an old quilt, but you could use a piece of felt, you could skip the stage entirely, all up to you. So I'm just going to take the sticky part off the back of mine, and all I'm going to do is I'm going to lay it down on my piece of batting, and then I'm just going to trim around the edge. Doesn't have to be perfect. I'm being careful not to cut into my foam board with this, or my sticky board, sorry, is what I'm using. You could literally use anything. I have used sturdy cardboard boxes. If you don't have sticky board, you could use foam board, sticky board, just plain poster board, as long as it's a little bit thick, or you could glue multiple pieces together, entirely up to you. I'm just gonna grab the bin so it's next to me. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to bring over my cross stitch piece. Now you're going to see the messy back. It doesn't have to be perfect. No one's going to see it. And I'm just going to place it on to try and work out where I want this piece. Because as I said, I am going to have a little bit of a margin on each side. So you can see that my pieces aren't equal. So I'm just going to shuffle that over a little bit. And that is a little bit better. Just make sure. Now the difficulty we're going to have is because, as you can see, we've got square edges on this piece. Okay. Now you could use wonder clips to finish this. My friend doesn't have any wonder clips, so I'm not going to do that just because I'm doing it as if I didn't have all the supplies. What she does have is she has tape. I have some washi tape here, but if you had other tape, you could use that. And all we're going to do is put the line, sorry, I don't know if I'm off screen, how you want it. I'm going to flip it over and we're just going to tape that piece for now. This is just going to hold it in place while we are working, okay? I'm going to come down to the other edge. Now I find it easier to hold it up on the board and then pull the fabric around, so hold it upright, and then you can manipulate it so you get the whole line to go across the board, okay? So I think I like it about there. So I'm going to put that down. When it's down, you don't have to put pressure on it. Okay, so this time I'm going to put one on that end and I'm going to put one on that end. I'm just going to tighten this one up. These will be coming off, so don't worry about that. That's just for now, just to help us get it in line, okay? I'm going to take this one off because I want to stretch it just a little bit more. I'm going to do the same thing. I've got a piece of fluff on mine. And you can see my borders are pretty much the same on there. So we're going to take that down. So now I know that my piece is lined up as I want to. I obviously need to do a little bit of stretching on this side. So I might just stretch that across a little bit while I've got some movement in the piece. And you can see if you're not careful, you do end up with a little bit of a wonky border. So you just need to make sure that you are stretching out the piece equally. So what I do is, once again, I'm lining it up and I'm stretching and pushing at the same time. So my thumb is pushing down and my fingers are pulling up on the fabric. So I've got a little bit of work I need to do on that corner just to make sure. Can you see where the corner bows in? So I'm just going to pull that out a little bit. And it actually also needs to be pulled on that bottom corner. And as you can see, I've now straightened that corner out. So I have got my hot glue gun next to me, okay? So I'm going to take this off. I am keeping the pressure on with my fingers here, okay? I can now release that pressure a little bit and I'm just going to trim off some of this excess here. I'm then just going to pull that corner back into place so I can check it one last time before I go and use my hot glue. So you can see I've got that all in place and that's going to work out. So I'm going to take this back off. I'm going to use hot glue today because when I spoke to my friend, that is what she felt most comfortable with. Now I do have other finishing videos on this channel where I have shown lacing as an option, okay? So there are different ways that you could do this. And as I've said, I'm pulling that corner up, wanting to make sure I don't pull it too far because I don't want it coming completely off my board. But so far, that is looking quite good. So I'm just going to glue this corner down. And yes, I did just burn myself with that hot glue gun. Ouch. My plug socket is a little bit too far away. I've just realised I do have one on my desk, so I'm just going to switch that over. Luckily, I'm quite used to my hot glue. So I'm just going to pull this back across, and now I'm just going to work on the other corner of this piece. Okay, so we want to stretch that into place. Oh, I'm probably off camera, sorry. So I'm stretching that across. I'm loosening up that corner that I've just hot glued a little bit. There is a little bit of flexibility. Pull that up a bit. See, I've got that one ready to go. So once again, I'm going to push down. I'm going to take some more of my hot glue. I'm going to start once again just by pulling the corner in. Now I can trim off some of this excess fabric in a little bit. It's not going to be essential to have all of that fabric. Push that down. And then put another little dab for this corner here. So as I'm going to do it, I'm just going to press that corner in to kind of help tighten that line up. I'm just going to pull it down a little bit so it's not going too far off my board. Now you'll see I am going to have to work on my middle line a little bit because it's a little bit wobbly. So once again, I'm just going to pull that down until I like the way that that is. I'm going to pull that up. I'm going to put some hot glue behind it, pull the piece, and then just press it down with my fingers. Now, this excess I will cut off in a little bit, okay? So now I've got those corners done, I need to focus on the other corners. So just going to push all of this out the way. So same theory, we're going to line it up with the other corner. That needs to come across a little bit. I might start on the other corner because that's the one that's not as straight. Okay, so there is my corner piece. And I'm just going to do the same thing. Sorry, having a little bit of a fight with my hot glue gun today. And I'm going to pull that nice and tight, press that corner in. Just make sure I've got a straight line. And then on to the last corner. So once again, I'm holding the pressure with that thumb. This thumb, you don't need to put too much pressure, but you do want to hold it. I'm just making sure you keep that corner as tight as possible without bending it back. Okay, so my bottom edge is glued and secured. Now need to work along the other edges. So just going to make sure it's nice and tight, as straight as I can get it. And then once again, just gonna go along the base with some glue, pull and push with my thumbs. Okay, and I'm going to be doing that for all of the sides. So the easiest way I find to straighten something up is to hold it perpendicular to the table, so I can press down on the table and pull up with my thumbs. And just got to do a little bit of work on this one because I have got a little bit of a wobble in that line there, but I think that's good. So I'm going to push that down. I'm going to pull that in with some hot glue. And just work that middle in a little bit. So I've got a fairly straight line. And then we're going to do the same with the last side. Just going to pull that up, work that corner a little bit until I'm happy with it, which I'm happy there. And press that in. So there are some points you can see I've got a little bit of work that I need to do on this line, so I'm just going to pull that piece down just until, just until it's a little bit straighter, which I'm going to go with there, and then you can just tighten it up on the back. Okay. Okay, so just going to glue some of those areas down a little bit, and there we go. So what I'm going to do is turn this piece over, and I am going to trim away just some of this excess fabric. I'm not going to trim too close to the edge because it will give me some good points to glue. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go round and I'm just going to glue down any parts that are sticking up. So I've got hot glue all over my hands. Okay, I'm just going to wipe off the hot glue off of my hands because I don't want it all over my piece. Get rid of the scraps. So this is the part for me that takes the time, because if you can get it lined up on your flat board or your mount board or whatever you are using, half of the work is then done for you. So I'm going to bring my finishing piece in, and I am going to have a look at how I want to finish it. So you could just go in and add your embellishments. Maybe you've got some buttons, maybe you've got some bobbin reels. But the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to focus on this part at the top. So I have got a variety of different ribbons here. So I'm just going to see, is any of them going to work to make my piece stand out enough? So I have got this dark blue, which I quite like. I have then got one of my go-to favourite ribbons, which is the black checkers, which I'm also quite liking. So those are options. One of the ribbons that I have that I often end up gifting out is I have this Tom Holtz ribbon, and it is a measuring tape, and I thought this would be absolutely perfect for this piece. But what I'm thinking about doing is moving this up a little bit and actually gluing this towards the bottom. But because my measuring tape is kind of, I haven't got much left, I'm actually going to pick out the part where it says 25, because obviously I stitched this in 2025, and I'm going to have this glued to the bottom here. I have my piece resting just above it, and then my bow at the top. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to apply my ribbon. I'm going to make sure I get the part that I want to show. So I'm going to want to wrap this around a little bit. I do keep all of these little scraps because they could be useful either as trimmings on a bow or just in another one of my crafts. And I'm just going to secure that down. And that just gives it a little bit of an anchor towards the bottom of my piece. Okay, So next thing I'm going to work on is I've decided I don't want a fabric border around mine. Some people do prefer to have a fabric border. I was looking at it. I'm not really feeling the fabric border. So I am just going to work on making some bows. So I'm going to use this, which was ribbon actually off of a gift. So I don't even know what type of ribbon it is. I'm just going to cut it into 2 equal size pieces, if I can get equal size pieces from it, which I can. So I'm going to put the ends together, and I need to uncurl it where it has been part of a ribbon. So I've got the ends together, and all I'm going to do is fold it in again, and then that is going to be the start of my bow, because when I fluff that up, that will look quite good. So what I'm going to do, move this out of the way, I am going to hot glue the different parts of this so it stays together as a bow. Put some glue on the back there. Now I'm just going to hold that just for a few seconds so it does glue together. And I am going to be putting something on the top of this, so I'm not really too fussed as to does this look neat and tidy at the moment, because we will be coming back in. So first layer of the bow is now currently done. Let's bring this back on the board. We're going to have a look and see how this looks. As you can see, it's not as wide as most bows would be, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the part that I have left over from the ribbon. I'm going to put a dot of glue and I'm just going to fold it at the top, and then I'm going to glue that in place in the middle at the top of my board. Okay, so I'm going to glue that in. And then this is going to form the actual tail of my bow. Okay, so I'm going to glue my bow down. I'm just deciding what side do I want on display. I'm actually going to glue this part down, so this is going to be the back of my bow. I'm going to glue that part down there. Don't worry, this middle section is going to be covered. And then I'm going to twist my bow round a little bit, and this is going to form my outside edge of my piece. I do like to have my pieces kind of have a tail round. I need to put some glue in there. Okay, so ignore the tail pieces at the moment. We're not doing anything with those. What we are going to do is we're going to glue our actual stitching down. I'm just going to glue not too close to the edge, and I am doing this fairly quickly because I do want to make sure the glue doesn't completely dry on me, and I'm just going to plop that right in the place where I want it. So I've got that down like so. I'm going to bring this ribbon back in, and I'm going to have a look as to where and how do I want the tails to fall. In just a second. So now is the part where I can decide. So these, I do apologise for the noise. These are pieces that I have picked up from the range. They are little bobbins, they come in a pack. I picked these up in there the other day. So I am going to find a thread that will go with that tartan colour. Let me just see what I have. So these are the threads that I use to stitch the piece. Now this blue is very prominent, could go with the pink, but this wasn't exactly the same pink that I used in the piece. I actually used this lighter pink, but I don't want that. That's not going to go. I'm actually drawing towards this other pink. So this pink actually wasn't in the piece, but it does complement that red a lot. So I'm just going to use that pink. So these are cut strands. I'm sorry, you didn't see any of that. These are cut strands of DMC. These are what I work with on a regular basis for these projects. So what I'm going to do is add a little dot of hot glue into the middle of this spool, just so I can start wrapping this spool without too many issues. So just going to work my way to the top and then work my way back down to the bottom. Please try and ignore the fact that I am honestly covered in glue here. So I'm going to need 2 strands. Now, if you were using thread off a DMC, you would just wrap this and not have to worry about this. But because these pieces are already pre-cut and I like shorter lengths, it wasn't going to work as well. So let's stretch this out a little bit and see if we can make one side look somewhat neat and presentable, even though this is a spool of thread. I need some glue in the back here. What are we saying is the back? This is the back. Ouch. Ah, got glue all over the wrong part of that. Never mind. Right. That's going to annoy me. So I'm just going to grab another bobbin. We're going to do a redo of that one. As I said, this is real life. This is not being edited, so you will see the mess ups and the snake. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually just going to get rid of all the hot glue that is currently on my hand. So put a dab of hot glue. I'm going to make sure I don't do as much as I did last time. And I'm going to turn it the other way so I can actually see what I'm looking at. So this is going to be the front side of my piece, and I just want to wrap this tightly round, trying to make it so it looks somewhat presentable, and I'm just going to keep the finish of it in the back. So I'm going to start my second piece of thread. I'm going to move to the front so I can see what I'm doing. I'm hoping you guys can see what I'm doing because I'm not looking at the camera as I do this. Probably a mistake, but... And then I'm going to finish that piece as well. So I'm just going to push that down, I'm going to push that part down, and then that's close enough. Okay, so I do have that down now. But I'm thinking I want a little bit of contrast. So I am just going to take a little piece of this black ribbon and I'm just going to do a little bow with this ribbon, if I can. Let's make that down a little bit smaller. That's what my bow is going to look like. So I'm just going to add a smidge of glue there. We'll bring that bow down, hold it for a few seconds. So I'm going to pop this on the top and then I'm going to have my bow on the top of that. So let's trim. I want to be trimming that way. So, ouch. I keep gluing myself with the hot glue gun. I have no idea how long I've been going. I've actually forgotten I've had the camera on most of the time. So, I'm going to pop that in the middle. I may need to extend. I've cut my ribbon a bit too short, so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to glue a flap on so it looks like there's a bit of a tail on the other side as well. There we go. I'm going to boost that up so it actually looks like a ribbon. I'm going to get the glue off my fingers before I spread it everywhere. We'll tuck the tail in, and I'm going to put the bow, not the bow, the bobbin on the top. So plenty of glue so it stays. Hold it in place. Right, this other one is dried now, so I'm going to see if I can peel some of this glue off, if it's going to be something I can save. I'm going to trim off these threads that are a little bit everywhere. Now I'm actually thinking about putting that at the bottom, but I am going to have a look at my buttons. So 1 second. So I've actually had these buttons sitting on my desk. These came in the advent. Let's have a look and see. Could use some little wooden buttons. Little stars. Don't know if I want a star. There is a blue that kind of matches. A little star. Don't think the orange matches, but got a red star. Not really sure. That's cute then. Not sure that's what I really want, but let's have a little look, shall we? Right, I'm just going to put these back in the tin because otherwise they're going to end up everywhere. Right, so we do have the little stars. We could put some little stars on the edge here. That makes it seem a bit too red and white. We do have a little heart button. And this is just trying to balance it off. As you can see, we've got a lot going on at the top, but we don't really have too much coming down the side. I don't really want the spool, so what I'll do is I'll just put the spool away for now. That can go off to the side and we'll use that later. So I quite like the idea of the little heart, but I am considering, do I want to make it look like the heart's tying in the button, I guess. I do like how that is on the corner, but I'm actually thinking I might just bring that around. I just don't want to cover the 25, so I'd have to hot glue it. There, we're just going to look a bit weird. Maybe if I hot glue it like that. That's what I might do. I might just put a dab of hot glue there. And I will cut that piece a little bit shorter. So I'm going to do the same thing on this side. Maybe I want to bring that up and then out. Right, I'm just going to stand this up so I can see it a little bit clearer. So I have got my button. That is up there with that section. That is on the corner. That is on the corner, but I'm actually thinking I don't need as much on this side. Okay, so that is in place. What I am going to do is I'm going to trim that ribbon off at the edge. Put those away. Let's just pull off some of these hot glue strands because it doesn't make it easy to tell what you're looking at when all you can see is the hot glue. So I do want to put a dab of hot glue on that corner just to keep that ribbon up. Now I want the ribbon to look like it's coming off of a spool, okay, almost, because what my plan is for this piece is it's going to be on display with other little pieces next to it, so I can kind of tuck them in around the ribbon. Okay, so I like how this one's got a curve. This piece of ribbon on this side does not want to curve the same way, which is quite typical. So I'm just going to put a dab of glue there, and we're just going to put that in to place like that, and then I'm going to put a dab down here and just let it fall where the piece wants to fall. and then we'll just trim that off as well. So far, what we're looking at. I do think I need something, so I'm actually thinking about putting the button there because that will hide. My board has got a little imperfection, which you probably won't be able to pick up on camera very easily, but the board has got a little imperfection on this side, and it's really annoying me that I've got a white mark. So I'm just going to stick the button on there, and then I'm actually going to do, I don't really have any sewing themed ones. I do have a little mushroom, but that doesn't really match the theme, does it? Right, let's have a look and see. Maybe I need something on the top of my spool. I don't think I do. I'm debating on whether I need to put something on this side. The only other heart button I had was this bright orange one, which didn't really go. Do I want to use maybe a little tiny spool? Sorry for the rustling, I'm just grabbing out a few little spools to see if I want to use them or not. I kind of feel like I don't at the moment, so I'm actually going to finish the piece there. What I'll do is when I have it on display with the other pieces that I haven't yet stitched, but when I have that on display, I can then decide if I want to add anything to it. So finishing doesn't have to just say it's finished when you actually do your FFO. Sometimes you need a little bit longer to make a decision. So this video was mainly to show you how I do the hot glue gun method, because I'm not sure if I have that video on the channel, but I have got a finish now, an FFO that can go up on display, and I'm looking forward to having it on display with my other pieces. So thank you so much for watching. I know this video has been a little bit random. These are what my FFO videos are like if I haven't pre-planned, which this one, I definitely didn't pre-plan it. I finished the piece yesterday. The only thing I knew is I was going to use this board from the works. But I just want to show you, finishing doesn't have to be hugely expensive. As I said, the ribbon, the green ribbon that I've used, that was from a gift. I've used sticky board. Mine's a non-brand sticky board. This is a ribbon that I've had for ages, but you can get ribbons with numbers on. You could use any type of ribbon. This would look great with a variety of different ribbons in. Maybe you want to bring down and have a black border with a like the running stitch effect. Maybe you want a piece of rickrack, whatever you want, whatever you have. Finishing doesn't have to be difficult, and that's what I'm hoping this video shows you. If you take the time to mount the piece, that's the thing, whether you're lacing, hot gluing, taking that preparation before you actually attach the piece to get it how you want it, and your piece will look good no matter which way you do it. So I've got one piece done for this stitching series. I'm going to be using the same colorway to stitch a few other stitching pieces throughout the year, and then I can have them all displayed all together. So thank you so much if you have stitched this advent with me. It's coming to a close, and I really look forward to seeing how you finished yours and how you have got your pieces on display, whether you FFO them or not. Please do share the pictures with me. Keep them coming. I'm really enjoying seeing them all. I love the difference in colorways people have done. I think it's always really cool when you take an idea and you run with it. So thank you so much for sharing those pieces. You have really made my festive period something that I didn't think was going to be very festive or enjoyable this year, and you have turned it around, and I've really enjoyed it. So thank you so much for supporting the series, and I will see you in the new year. Have a lovely Christmas and Happy New Year to all. Happy stitching. Bye.